Lines, starting with San Francisco, because those Niners are red hot. 11 straight wins, including that wild-card game against the Seahawks. It is tied for their longest winning streak in franchise history and the longest in over 2 decades. The last 6 wins you may have heard have come with Brock Purdy under center. He's the first rookie QB to win a playoff game since 2012. In addition, he became the youngest player in postseason history with 300 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns in a game. Niners' calling card is their defense, though, finishing the regular season with the #1 scoring D in the league. They also haven't allowed a single player to rush for 70 yards in 26 straight games. That is one heck of a stat. Let's say hello to ESPN 49ers reporter Nick Wagner joining us now live. And Nick, speaking of that Niners D, the man who runs it all, DeMeco Ryans, the former Pro Bowl linebacker, he is a hot name on the NFL coaching market. 4 different teams are requesting his services as far as interviews are concerned. So how is he balancing all of that, preparing for coaching interviews with preparing for the Cowboys game on Sunday?
Yeah, Sage, it's been quite a busy week for DeMeco Ryans. He has a couple of NFL coaching interviews scheduled for today. One, the Denver Broncos, and then tomorrow, the Houston Texans. He'll get to the other teams that have requested him next week. But remember, DeMeco Ryans was a candidate last year for the Minnesota Vikings, actually had a second interview that he decided to pass on. He just didn't feel like it was the right opportunity and the right situation at the right time. So he wants to make sure it is the right situation when he takes a job. I spent some time with Ryans here recently. He told me, I am ready for that step. I figured out everything else. I'm pretty sure I can figure that out too. One more thing that Ryans and his crew will have to figure out this week, how to slow down a mobile quarterback like Dallas's Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, and even Jarrett Stidham of the Raiders gave the Niners trouble this year. Defensive end Nick Bosa said that they didn't have their best effort against the Raiders. They've got to be much better, and they've got to play like their hair is on fire.
That is a challenge, DeMeco Ryans is certainly ready for. Last year, in his first year as the defensive coordinator, his team ranked 3rd in the NFL in defense, and even better this year, finishing 1st. Nick Wagner with the latest on the 49ers. Thank you, sir. In the meantime, let's bring in our NFL analyst, Dan Orlovsky. When you look back at that playoff game last year, Dan, they did a really good job holding Dallas to just 77 total rushing yards. Dak had almost as many as Zeke. They only gave Zeke the rock like 12 times last year in that game. What is the key this time for the 49ers defense?
And that rush defense hasn't allowed a 70-yard rusher all season long. So the big thing is how well they defend the perimeter. San Francisco's defense is phenomenal. It's very difficult to think of ways to attack it, yet actually going out and doing it. How well they stop CD playing on the outside is going to go a long way to seeing how successful they are against their pretty talented offense for Dallas, who came off a big game. If I had to point out the one weakness, and again, I am searching for a nugget here, it's how well they can shut down balls to the perimeter of the defense. And so I think for Dallas, it's going to be, can you spread them out and try to get the ball out quickly? And how, San Francisco's so good at tackling out in space, but their corners aren't great. Ward's a good player. They're not great necessarily in one-on-one coverage. I've thought that for the whole week, CeeDee Lamb's the big key for this game. So San Francisco defensively, if you do that, then you allow your best player and one of the best in the NFL, Nick Bosa, to dominate the football game. But if they allow Dak to just kind of catch and throw to the perimeter and be methodical down the field, you kind of take Nick Bosa out of the football game. And if you're San Francisco and DeMeco Ryans, who's, again, a brilliant defensive mind, they got to find ways to allow Nick Bosa to be impactful in this game, and it's going to be about making sure that they pack the middle, and when the ball's thrown on the outside, continue to rally to it very quickly.
Yeah, the timing is really going to be fascinating because of the confidence that Dak Prescott and the guys displayed on offense last week. I mean, the best we've ever seen him, right? I think everybody agrees at this point. Kellen Moore, he knows he's going to have his hands full, but hey, he's stepped up to the challenge before, especially earlier when Dak wasn't there.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Good mind.
It's the late game, but hey, we need to talk about the Cowboys, right, Matt?
That is correct. We are going to talk about the Cowboys, one step closer to making their first conference championship appearance since '95. Their 11 straight playoff appearances without reaching the conference title game is the longest streak of all time. Dak led the way in the wild card game, 4 passing touchdowns. The last Cowboys quarterback with more passing touchdowns in a single postseason game, Troy Aikman, 93. He had 5. And their defense has been one of the best, finishing the regular season, ranked 5th in points per game allowed and leading the league in takeaways. They were also one of 4 teams this season with 50-plus sacks. Now, we just talked about the Niners' defense. New on SportsCenter, Mike McCarthy also weighing in.
The biggest challenges of their defense, I mean, I think just like anything, you go through the checklist. If you start with the personnel, they have exceptional players on all three levels. So, I mean, it starts up front, not only, with the individuals they have, but the depth, It's a talented front. Obviously there's a lot said about Bosa and Armstead, but it goes all the way through. A lot of line movement is exceptional, well coached. Warner as a linebacker. So I just think secondary, I think it's a defense, and this is the time of year. You're obviously in the divisional round of the playoffs, so these are the kind of challenges you have, but it's an excellent defense.
We just talked about that. You just talked about the Niners' excellent defense. Mike McCarthy saying the same thing. But when you look at the Dallas Cowboys from their perspective, give me one area of focus you're going to be watching in this game.
Well, those real glasses.
They are. I've been asked this twice. Yesterday by Spears. I love how I'm having
the two dumbest people on television asked you that question.
Yes. People can have glasses and contacts at the same time.
I would have worn my fake
ones, too. I'm trying to be more of an
too.
intellect. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
Good luck with that. I think how Dallas's defense and Dan Quinn, who were remarkable against Tampa Bay on Monday night, match up against San Francisco. We did a long thing this week, Tuesday on NFL Live, of how difficult it is truly to match up and handle it before the ball ever gets snapped. San Francisco's offense with McCaffrey and Debo and Juszczyk and Kittle and Ayuk. How Dan Quinn kind of deploys his defense is going to be fascinating to me. We saw Micah Parsons, who from the majority of this season was like a rush end guy. He played a lot of off-the-ball linebacker Monday night against Tampa Bay, and they used him in the run game, they used him in the pass game, they blitzed him up the middle, and I think it'll be fascinating to see, does Dan Quinn sit there and go, our best player is Micah, and I got to match him. Maybe he uses him and matches him up against Christian McCaffrey and plays man. I don't know. Ryan Clark has said for 2 years now that Micah Parsons can play any position on defense. And if you feel like, well, we've got a guy athletically who might be able to handle McCaffrey, they play man. I just think it's going to be fascinating to watch how Dan Quinn sits there and goes, I can't sit back against this offense. It's too dynamic. It's too easy for defenses or offenses when they do that. Does he decide to play man coverage and say, Micah Parsons, this is your moment. You play one of the most dynamic offensive players in the league, McCaffrey, man-to-man. That will be the most fascinating thing of the weekend for me.
At one point Monday night, he was the best player on the field.
Absolutely.
And so if you've got that advantage, take advantage of it from Dan Orlovsky, who made a real suit choice today.
I like it. Boys. As for the other NFC matchup, Giants-Eagles. Hello, Matt Berry. I'm Sage Steele here with you for 2 live hours, including the next 25 minutes, commercial-free. And we're going to be live in Dallas, also San Francisco. Reports on both the Cowboys and the Niners ahead of their game on Sunday night.
Yeah, we're getting close. It's Thursday. Mike McCarthy speaking right now. You'll hear from him. Plus, we'll explain the key for the Dallas defense as they prepare for that speedy Niners offense. Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Debo Samuel, they look good. 25-minute Sports Center, plus some breaking news starts right now.
This is Sports Center.
So will the third time be the charm for the Giants? We are live with New York and Philadelphia. Why the Eagles' game plan needs to change with a hurting quarterback under center. The Jaguars look to pull off another upset, this time in Kansas City. We're going to hear from head coach Doug Peterson, plus the Bengals and Bills prepare. Our experts plan for covering Cincy's wideouts. And an NBA Finals rematch tonight in Beantown. How Jason Tatum and company can keep Stephen Curry and the Dubs from getting the dub.
It's do or die. It's where you like to be.
How about this, Cowboys?
Touchdown, Saquon Barkley.
I've always played with my emotions and my heart on my sleeve, and I just want to win so badly.
We begin with breaking news out of the NFL. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have fired offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich, a source confirmed to ESPN on Thursday. The decision to fire Leftwich after 4 seasons as the team's offensive play caller was the first major personnel move made by Todd Bowles since he became head coach back on March 30th. The Tampa Bay Times first to report on the firing of Leftwich. Since Leftwich became the offensive coordinator for the Bucs in 2019, the offense was one of the best in the league during that time. They ranked top 5 in points per game, passing yards, and total QBR. Our breaking news coverage continues now with NFL insider Dan Graziano. And the Leftwich fire, like I said, is the first big decision of the Bucs this offseason. Now it means we're all going to start speculating about the quarterback. But from what you believe, what are you hearing this means for both the future of Tom Brady and Tampa Bay?
Matt, I'm not sure it's tied very much to the future of Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. He's going to be a free agent. The contract prohibits them from franchising him. He'll go wherever he wants to go, whether that's into retirement, to another team or possibly back to Tampa, although that doesn't sound likely. And honestly, I don't think that has much to do with today's news. I think this is about Todd Bowles, who got the head coach job right at the tail end of March, very late in the cycle, when the announcement came about Bruce Arians moving up to the front office. Bowles was not able to hire his own coaching staff at that point because everyone had already been hired. So this allows him to, and there'll be other changes on the staff, I would presume. This allows him to kind of look around and put together the staff that he wants. And they did come off a year in which their offense was one of the very worst in the league. So it's unfortunate for Leftwich, but it looks like it's just a matter of shuffling the coaching staff under a new head coach who didn't get the chance to do it when he got the job.
And Graz, one follow-up, if I may, because we know Leftwich had been a candidate for some of the head coaching vacancies. Yeah. We know that this offense was good with Leftwich in Tampa Bay. Some of the reaction out there has been, wait, what? Wow. Amongst your circles, was this a surprise?
No. I think, going in toward the end of the year, you see the Buccaneers kind of limping to the finish. They actually finished under 500 in spite of winning the division. So, yeah, the thought was, you ask around, like, hey, do you think Todd Bowles is going to be safe or possibly one and done? And what you heard was a lot of, no, I think he's fine, but you could see some staff changes there, even at the coordinator level. So, no, I don't think too many people are surprised by this. It is amazing, though, when you think about it, Matt. A year ago, this was a guy in Leftwich that was interviewing for head coaching jobs, and right. A lot of people thought was on the verge of getting the Jaguars job that ended up going to Doug Peterson. So quite a fall for sure in 1 year's time.
And as you said, this likely to be a busy offseason in Tampa Bay with this, the first move. Dan Graziano with the latest here on SportsCenter. Thank you, Dan.
All right, yesterday our focus at the top of the show was the AFC. Today, hello NFC, and we have live coverage for you again today. All 4 NFC teams covered: the Giants, the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the San Francisco 49ers. But first, let's get you set. Dallas and San Francisco, we begin with that one, the final game of divisional weekend.